Without Army's knowledge, Jungkook and Jimin's secret meeting makes an uproar. In the midst of the hustle and bustle of the global entertainment world that never sleeps, the names of Jungkook and Jimin again shook the virtual world with an unexpected news. It's not about a grand stage, it's not about international awards, but a secret meeting that is said to have happened without the public's knowledge, even without a clear trace for their loyal fans, Army. This news circulated so fast, like a fire that engulfed the dryness of curiosity, triggering unstoppable wild speculation. It all started from a vague upload on social media, which was then deleted in minutes. In that upload, two men with hats and masks are seen, walking side by side on a street that looks deserted. Even though their faces are not fully visible, their body gestures, the way they walk, and even their height makes many fans immediately speculate that it is Jungkook and Jimin. It didn't take long for the screenshot of the upload to spread widely, triggering a heated wave of discussion. What makes this situation more interesting is the time of the meeting. Many mentioned that the moment happened in the middle of their respective busy schedules, even when the public thought they were in a different location. This raises a big question. Why do they have to meet secretly? What are they talking about that has to be done without the camera spotlight? Some fans try to calm the atmosphere by saying that the meeting may be just a personal moment between two friends who have been through so many things together. Since their debut together in BTS, Jungkook and Jimin are known to have a very close relationship. They are not only co-workers, but also like a family who understand each other without much word. However, it is the closeness that makes this meeting feel different, deeper, more mysterious. On the other hand, not a few are starting to associate this meeting with various other speculations. Some say that this is related to a secret project that has not yet been announced. There are also those who suspect that this is a moment of serious discussion about their future career. In fact, a more emotional theory emerged, saying that this meeting may happen because one of them is facing something heavy and needs support directly, not just through messages or video calls. Interestingly, until now there is no official statement from the agency or from Jungkook and Jimin themselves. This silence actually strengthens the public's curiosity. In the entertainment world, silence often speaks more than words, and in this case, their silence seems to be fuel for various theories that keep popping up. Some fans who claim to be at the location that was suspected to be the meeting place also started to speak up. They describe a calm atmosphere, almost like a moment that was deliberately chosen to avoid attention. There is no crowd, no conspicuous escort. Everything feels very simple, but that's where the anomaly lies. Two global stars meet, but without the usual luxury that accompanies them. There is one small detail that later becomes a big highlight. In one of the blurry photos that circulated, it was seen that one of them slightly lowered his head, while the other seemed to be talking with a serious expression. For some people, this is not just an ordinary conversation. This looks like a meaningful moment, maybe even emotional. And from there comes the narrative that this meeting is not just a coincidence, but something that has been carefully planned. However, behind all the growing speculation, there is one thing that cannot be ignored. The relationship between Jungkook and Jimin has been tested by time. They have gone through difficult times together, from the early days full of struggle to reaching the peak of global success. They know how it feels to be under pressure, how to face such high expectations, and how to stay in the midst of the spotlight that never goes out. Maybe that's why this meeting feels so important. In a world full of noise, maybe they only need a quiet moment to talk heart to heart. No camera, no script, no demands of anything. Only two friends who understand each other, trying to rediscover the meaning behind everything they have been through. Army's reaction was divided. Some feel worried, afraid that this meeting indicates something bad. There are also those who feel touched, seeing it as proof that behind the glitter of the entertainment world, they are still ordinary people who need real connections. And of course, there are also those who are curious, waiting with hope that one day the truth behind this meeting will be revealed. As time goes by, perhaps this mystery will slowly fade away, replaced by new news that is no less interesting. However, for those who followed Jungkook and Jimin's journey from the beginning, this moment will always be something special, a small piece of a big story that has not yet been fully revealed. And maybe that's where the beauty lies. Not everything needs to be explained. Not all moments have to be shared, because sometimes the most meaningful thing is what happens behind the scenes, outside the reach of the camera, outside the world's spotlight. A simple meeting but full of meaning, which only the two of them really understand. The story that had been cut turned out to be not really finished. Precisely, after a long silence, a new wave began to feel, slower, deeper, but much more emotionally shaking the fans who from the beginning tried to understand what really happened behind the secret meeting between Jungkook and Jimin. A few days after the news subsided, another piece of story emerged from an unexpected source. An anonymous staff who reportedly worked around the BTS neighborhood said that the meeting was not something spontaneous. He described it as something that has been planned for a long time but keeps being delayed. That sentence is simple, but enough to rekindle the curiosity that was almost extinguished before. What made the meeting have to be postponed so many times? What is so important that they finally choose such a hidden time to do it? Speculation is spinning again, but this time the direction begins to change. It is no longer just a theory about a project or career, but something more personal. Some fans begin to recall old moments, two long stares on stage, hugs that feel different to the words that were once said in interviews that now sound like incomplete pieces of the puzzle. In one of the old live broadcasts, Jimin once said that Jungkook is someone who doesn't talk much when he's really tired. That sentence used to sound normal, but now it feels different, as if giving a clue that there is a side of Jungkook that is not always seen by the public, even by those who feel that they already know him so closely. And on the other hand, Jungkook once said that Jimin is a person who always comes without being asked. A simple statement, but now it feels like it has a much deeper meaning. Is the meeting one of the forms of coming unasked? A moment where words are no longer enough and presence becomes the only answer. Soon after, another photo appeared clearer, but still left a lot of mystery. This time, the two were seen sitting facing each other in a place that looked like a small cafe, away from the crowd. No exaggerated expression, no dramatic gestures. Only two people seem to be immersed in a serious conversation. But it is simplicity that makes many people feel that this moment is not something ordinary. Some observant fans even pay attention to small details such as hand position, viewing direction, and pauses in the conversation recorded in the photo. They try to read what is invisible, understand what is not spoken. And from there came a conclusion that slowly began to be agreed upon by many parties, that this meeting was not about the outside world, but about something much deeper between the two of them. However, in the midst of all the analysis and speculation, there was one moment that really made the atmosphere change. A short message uploaded by Jungkook on the fan community platform. Not long, does not explain anything directly. Only one sentence. Sometimes, we just need someone who understands without having to explain. That sentence immediately became the center of attention. No name is called, no context is given. But for many people, the time feels too right to be considered a coincidence. Many believe that the message is related to the meeting, as if it is a vague answer to all the questions that are circulating. The reaction reappeared. Some feel relieved, assuming that there is nothing to worry about. But there are also those who are even more emotional, feeling that the sentence contains a burden that is not light, that behind the smile that is often seen in front of the camera, there are things that are never really revealed. What makes everything feel even more real is the fact that until now, no official clarification has been given. There is no rebuttal, no explanation. Only the silence continued, as if they chose to let the moment remain their own. And perhaps that's where the line between the public world and real private life lies. That not all things have to be shared, not all stories have to have a clear cover, because sometimes it is the mystery that keeps the meaning intact. For Army, this meeting may continue to be a topic of conversation, a story that will be remembered and retold with various versions. But behind all that, there is one thing that is slowly beginning to be understood, that in the midst of all the spotlights and expectations, Jungkook and Jimin are still two human beings who need each other, understand each other, and maybe become each other's home to when the world feels too noisy. And when all the speculation finally subsides, perhaps all that remains is one simple question that does not need a definitive answer. Do we really need to know everything, or do we believe enough that whatever happens between them, it is something sincere and real? Because in the end, not all secrets are created to be revealed. Some of them are there to be felt, secretly, deep and meaningful.
This statement seems to be the end of all the speculations that are circulating, that behind all the rumors and assumptions, there is a much simpler reality. Two people who care about each other, who are constantly learning to be better, not only for themselves, but also for each other. However, the public does not seem ready to stop discussing it. Every word Jimin said kept being analyzed. Every expression is observed. Even the old moments are brought up again, as if trying to find the pieces of the puzzle that have been missed so far. This is no longer just news, but a phenomenon that shows how much the world cares about their relationship. In the midst of all that, one question remains hanging. Why now? Why did Jimin choose to open his voice at a time like this? Is this just a coincidence, or is there a deeper reason that has not been fully revealed? The answer may never be really clear. But one thing is for sure, this statement has changed the way many people see their relationships. No longer just an entertaining duo on stage, but two individuals with a much more complex and emotional story. And maybe that's where their true strength lies. Not on perfection, but on honesty. Not on the image, but on the relationship that continues to be tested by time. As the world keeps talking, Jimin and Jungkook keep walking in their own way, without the need to explain everything, without the need to prove anything to anyone. Because in the end, what they have is not something that can be measured by public opinion. This is their story, and for the first time in a long time, the world feels a little closer to understanding it. The wave of conversation that emerged after Park Jimin's statement has not yet subsided. In fact, it is increasingly spreading to various corners of the fan community, to the global media. Every piece of word he said kept being replayed, analyzed, and even debated with increasingly diverse points of view. In the midst of the hustle and bustle, one name continues to be the center of attention. Jungkook, a figure that has always looked so strong, but now slowly begins to be understood from a deeper side. Many are starting to realize that all this time, they may only see the surface. Jungkook's laughter on stage, his energy that seems to never run out, and the image of golden magne that is strongly attached, turns out to hold layers of emotions that are not always visible. And of all the people, Jimin was the one who seemed to open that small door, giving a glimpse of what really happened behind the scenes of their lives. The story he told was not about a big conflict or sensational drama. Quite the opposite, about small things that are often overlooked but have a much greater meaning. About how Jungkook sometimes chooses to be silent when facing pressure, about how he more often keeps his worries than sharing them, and about how their relationship is tested not by big things, but by simple details that slowly pile up. At this point, the public is starting to be divided in the way they interpret everything. Some feel touched, seeing this as a proof of sincere closeness. But not a few began to speculate further, trying to find the hidden story behind the confession, as if every relationship must have a dramatic side that has not been revealed. In fact, if you look deeper, it is simple honesty that is the essence of everything. Jimin is not creating a sensation. He only tells the reality. The human relationships, no matter how strong they are, still have gaps, still need effort, and can still falter if not maintained. And maybe this is what makes many people feel so connected to their stories. Because behind all the glitter of the entertainment world, what they experience is actually very human. But there is one part of Jimin's statement that continues to haunt many people. He had mentioned about the moment where he felt unable to reach Jungkook completely. This sentence is simple, but full of meaning. Many wonder what really happened at that moment. Or is it just a part of a natural growth process? These questions don't have a definite answer, but that's where the attraction is. Because in that obscurity, everyone finds their own reflection. Some see it as a phase that they have experienced in friendship. Some see it as a symbol of a relationship that is tested by time and change. On the other hand, this moment also makes many fans see their old interaction again with a new point of view. Old videos are circulating again, showing small pieces that used to be considered ordinary, but now feel different. Longer gazes than usual, silence in the middle of a conversation, or even jokes that now feel like they have a hidden meaning. Is it all a coincidence? Or was there really a story that only the two of them really understand? Over time, this discussion does not only stop at the relationship between the two of them. Many began to discuss the dynamics of BTS as a whole, how the pressure as a global group affects the relationship between members, how they have to balance between personal life and public expectations, and how they still survive in the midst of it all. In this context, what Jimin expresses feels like a small piece of a much bigger picture. It's not just about him and Jungkook, but about the reality of being part of something so big that it barely makes room for error. And maybe that's why their relationship became so strong, because they not only share happy moments, but also burdens that not everyone can understand. Interestingly, in the midst of all speculation and analysis, both Jimin and Jungkook chose to remain silent after that statement. No additional clarification, no long explanation. It was as if they were letting the world speak while they continued to live their relationship as usual. This attitude actually adds a layer of mystery that is getting deeper. But for some people, their silence is not a sign of something hidden, but a form of belief that not everything needs to be explained, that there's a part of the relationship that the public does not need to know. And maybe that's the biggest lesson of all this, that in a world that continues to demand transparency, there is power in keeping certain things private, that not all stories have to be told to the end, and that the strongest relationship is often the one that does not need much explanation. As time goes by, this euphoria will probably subside. The public's attention will shift to other things, as always happens. But the traces of this moment will remain, not as a scandal, not as a controversy, but as a reminder that behind all the spotlight, there is a true story that continues to run. A story about two people who grow up together. A story about a distance that was once created but never really separated. And the story of a relationship that, although not perfect, instead becomes strong because of its imperfection. In the midst of all that, one thing seems to be becoming clearer. Whatever happens between Jimin and Jungkook, it is not something that can be simplified by outside opinions. It is something that lives, develops, and is only truly understood by those who live it. And maybe, for now, that's more than enough.